Welcome back to Mac Talks Football and a massive win for Stuttgart against Leverkusen as they defeat them 3-1 and they reached the fourth spot in the Bundesliga, and with one game to go, they have really strengthened their position to qualify for the Champions League, and they've dealt a huge blow to Leverkusen's chances of finishing the top four and qualifying for the Champions League. I mean, it was a huge game from the get-go, especially with other games being played as well. Yesterday, Dortmund defeated Frankfurt, and that sort of ended their hopes of qualifying for the Champions League. And Dortmund finished second, so now Leipzig were playing St. Pauli at the same time. And but the main game was this one, and as I said, it was a massive game. And Stuttgart and Leverkusen, they gave us a really good game. What a fast start. Leverkusen, they go ahead and they grab an early goal in that first minute. It becomes a 1-0 to Leverkusen. But credit to Stuttgart, they don't let that early goal push them down or pull them. They just get right back at Leverkusen, and there Dumarovic scores that first goal for Stuttgart to bring them back into the game, and it is 1-1 after just 5 minutes of the first half. And after that, it was such an open game. Both the teams really went at it. I think the first half was quite open. I think both the teams created good enough chances. They both of them troubled each other quite a lot in that first half. I think Leverkusen were a bit better in that first half, but Stuttgart were really on a point. The crowd was really up for it, because as I said, it was a huge game. Fighting for to qualify for the Champions League. So both the teams really wanted to do that. And the games certainly lived up to its expectation. The second half, I think it was a bit different. I think Stuttgart really stepped up their game in that second half. I think unfortunately for Leverkusen, they were not really able to stay with Stuttgart in that second half. And the way that Stuttgart carried themselves, and the way that they dominated, the way that they moved the ball so quickly, I think Leverkusen were sort of left behind in that second half. They tried. I'm not saying like they were like not completely dominated in that second half, but I would still say it became quite a one-sided second half affair, if I'm being very honest with you. And the goals from Stuttgart really had they scored the goals in important junctures of the game, that increased the pressure on Leverkusen. The second goal was very crucial. I felt that at the halftime, I felt like the team who scores that second goal, that is going to be very important, and it's going to help them a lot. And that's what happened. Stuttgart scored that a second goal, and that basically really helped them, and that put a lot of pressure on Leverkusen, and they went forward, throwing caution to the wind, and that helped Stuttgart score that third goal as well. Leverkusen had their chances, but unfortunately they were not really able to finish them off, and that has been a problem for Leverkusen this season. They are creating good enough chances, but they are not being able to convert them, and the final ball has been missing in quite a lot of those games for Leverkusen. And this happened today as well. There were chances where they could have come back and they could have equalized the game, or they could have scored the goal, but they were not really able to do that. And Stuttgart, on the other hand, they did that, especially after 3-1. I think and they managed the game really well after 3-1, finishing their chances, and then they made sure that they don't overdo it. As sometimes when you're playing this a fast-paced game like this, and both the teams are like are throwing everything at each other, playing that open football. It's a fast, fluid football. You sometimes the emotions get better of you. But I think the way that Stuttgart managed the game, it was a very mature performance. It was quite a controlled performance as well. After 3-1, you did not really see Stuttgart pushing forward. They prefer to stay back. They prefer to defend that lead. And I think it's not like they just sat back and they parked the bus. It was not like that. But the way that before scoring that third goal, they kept on going. They were pushing forward, and the impetus was on attacking. But the moment they scored that goal, the impetus was on defending, and making sure that when they are going to go forward, there's a clear-cut chance, if you to say, and there's not that much of a threat on conceding a counter attack from Leverkusen. It happened a couple of times, but it did not really become a habit in Leverkusen. But not despite having a good amount of ball in the second half as well, but they were not really able to I do something with it, if I'm being very honest with you. And I think that was good game management by Stuttgart, the entire team, and the manager as well, because they realized they have a good enough advantage. That third goal, as I said, it became very crucial for Stuttgart. They became quite confident that we are safe and secure, and they really don't need to commit a man forward to try to score another goal, because now Leverkusen were really desperate at that time, and they were the ones that really needed to come and score the goal. And but Stuttgart, they managed very well. I think that crowd support from the Stuttgart fans were really good, and they helped the team forward, and the team replied as well. And they said it's a massive 3 points for Stuttgart. They are now on 61 points. Now Leipzig have already qualified, and Dortmund already qualified. Bayern Munich, of course, are the champion. So the top three are confirmed in Bundesliga. That fourth place is becoming so crucial now. Leipzig on Stuttgart are on 61 points, and then you have Hoffenheim at 58 and Leverkusen at 58, and just one game remaining, the last day, and still there's a chance for Stuttgart. It's very easy. They just need 1 point, and they're going to win the Champions League next season. So that's why this game was very important for them. They needed to win that. They have won that game, and they, it when it really mattered, they have stepped up. And unfortunately for Leverkusen, they were not really able to do that. And the way the game went, if you look at it overall, if I'm being very honest with you, I think it was a fair result. Stuttgart were the better team for majority of that game, and they got the job done as well. Leverkusen, they are going to be really disappointed. Their form for the last couple of months has been really good. They suffered a few setbacks, but they sort of made a comeback, and it looked like the things were going really well for them. But unfortunately for them, they have missed out, or in my opinion, I think they have missed out on the chance of qualifying for the Champions League, because I don't think Stuttgart are going to drop points. I think that they just, as I said, they just need a point. I think this game was, that's why it was very important. It was one of those games that if you can't win, make sure you don't lose that game, because then it gives you more of a chance to qualify. Because if this game ends up in a draw, so then you would have both Stuttgart and Leverkusen on 59 points going into the final day. Anything can happen, goal difference can come in and whatnot. So there would have been a big chance. Now you are hoping that you win, and you win with good amount of goals, and then Stuttgart lose as well. So I think this becomes more complicated for Leverkusen. That's why I said this was one of those games that if you cannot win, you make sure you don't lose. But unfortunately for Leverkusen, it hasn't really happened. They are sixth currently. I think they are going to finish in those Europa League place. I think they are going to win the Europa League next season. I think if I'm being very honest, if I was a betting man, I would put my money on Stuttgart to finish in the top four and qualify for the Champions League. And I think even though Hoffenheim have had a great season, I just don't think they are going to be able to stop Stuttgart now as well. So I think Hoffenheim and Leverkusen, they are going to be in the Europa League. And Frankfurt have had a horrendous end to the season. They are now 8th, if I'm not wrong. Yes, but Freiburg are 7th in that Conference League spot. Frankfurt have basically lost every chance of qualifying for Europe, and that's a shocker, if I'm being very honest with you, because I thought they were going to have a really good season, and they were having a good season. The end to the season has been horrendous. There's still chance they might sneak up in that Europe Conference League spot, but I think it's going to be really hard. But for in this game, massive 3 points for Stuttgart, and in my opinion, they've basically sealed their spot for Champions League, and a massive drop of massive defeat for Leverkusen, as it looks like their dreams of qualifying for the Champions League have sort of ended, to be very honest with you. That is from me in this video. Let me know what you guys thought of the game, what you guys thought of Leverkusen's performance, Stuttgart's performance, and who do you think is going to qualify for the Champions League. One spot, 3 teams. Who do you think qualifies for the Champions League on the match day 30 in the Bundesliga? Let me know in the comment section below. Like the video, share it as well. Click on the notification bell, and of course subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to get to 600 subscribers before the end of the season, so please go ahead and subscribe and help the channel out. Until next time, bye bye.